Van is obviously a great coach.
Got to do it with supreme focus, right? With razor sharp focus. Breathe what he's breathing.
But he's a better person.
Biggest thing you gave me was time. You didn't really know me. We were from the same neighborhood and area, but I was with a group of guys that wanted to go to college, wanted to play ball, and you actually gave us that reality that, hey, this could actually happen because we saw somebody that was like us and that we wanted to become.
Only thing that matters is you come out here, play after play after play after play, and that's the play we do. That's what matters.
Recruiting is about relationships. It's built on trust. It's built on doing the right things, and it's built on your head coaches and your athletic director, their vision. And I think we have two great leaders, both of those positions. So it makes it easy for me to go out and do what I do.
Be aggressive. Let's win. Here we go.
We've had a dynamic experience here on Leaders Lead and Winners Win with Van Malone. And, we've had the opportunity to have conference commissioners, head coaches, athletic directors from all over the country share their time with us. And today is no different. Today we have Kevin Anderson, who is the newly named Associate Athletic Director at the Air Force Academy, a longtime friend. Kevin, I appreciate you for joining us. We're so excited to be able to learn from you, to gather your wisdom. A guy who's been a leader in athletics, not just in athletic programs, but a leader in athletics administration for many years. It's been really fun to watch your career path, Kevin. So thanks again for joining us today.
Well, hey, Van, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate any time I get the opportunity to spend some time with you.
So I'm going to jump right in, right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, and I know you would be. But you and I, we met on a golf course many years ago. I was a young coach. I'm still a young coach as I talk to my players, but I was a young coach. And man, I was so intimidated by meeting an athletic director. And but when I had an opportunity to be around you, to see that you were just a guy who was committed to doing great things in sports administration. That's kind of what I gathered on that day. I just decided that I was going to follow your career. So in that vein, I'm going to give the mic to you and let you talk to us about the path that your career has taken you from being a guy who started out working for Xerox, working for the United Negro College Fund, and who has been an athletic director at programs, respected programs across the country. Of course, the academies, and I'm not going to mention the other academy. You can if you like. So, Kevin, take us through your career and how things started for you and to get you to this point.
So if I recall correctly, you weren't too intimidated because I think you took my money that day. So,
well, sometimes that happens.
This has truly been a blessing for me, and this is a ministry. And I went through an interview once, and they asked me what my plan was, and I told them that a couple of years ago, I could have told you to the second, but then I found out that it's God's plan. It's not my plan. They appreciated that I was a man of faith, but they still wanted to know what my plan was. But God's been very good to me, even through the trials and tribulations, because through all that, I've been able to see a different direction in which I've been able to grow mentally, spiritually, become a better father, husband, a friend. So, it's just been that. But, my base was that, I coached a couple years when I first graduated from college. And then at that moment, I decided, well, I might want to make a little bit more money. So I went to the Xerox Corporation, and I spent 10 years there, and I worked with some fabulous people, and I learned a lot of great things. And I think what's helped me be successful in the athletic world is that Xerox experience on just how to run a large corporation and watch the people that have been successful in doing so. And just like you, they took me under their wings and they shared some very valuable lessons and shared tools with me that has helped me all along the way. Then when I got into the athletic world, I was able to work with some phenomenal athletic directors that have been very successful. And, you know, I owe everything that I am today to them. But, you know, I mean, man, I've learned from you. One of the things, and the reason why I'm so excited to get back and go to the Air Force Academy is that I go to work every day and I'm going to learn something. And then the other thing is what I truly missed about not being in the arena for a while is my interaction and working with these phenomenal young people and the great coaches and the great minds that I've been around. So, you know, I've been able to take all of that and put it together. And then, you know, I've been able to see what's been successful and what works for me and what hasn't worked for me. And so with all that, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've had a great career, and now I'm going to extend that in intercollegiate athletics. You know, I'm looking at the challenges that you face and I will face today. It's changing, but you know, I think that if we do this in the right manner, the changes that we're looking at now, we can make them positive and make it better. The thing that concerns me about intercollegiate athletics is I believe we've lost the value of the scholarship. And we don't talk about that much. And I think we let people dictate our narrative, and we need to go out there more and share the stories of the success that, I mean, look at you and look at me and others of us have in participating in intercollegiate athletics. I mean, if you listen to the news and you read the newspaper and everything else, you know, it doesn't paint a good picture for us. And I mean, the things that we're able to achieve for all these great young people, you know, it's tremendous. And so I just hope that our leadership sees that we need to come up with a plan, talk about the plan and our vision on how we're going to, you know, continue to produce these great young people into productive citizens in our country.
Right, and you've done a great job of that, and you know, sometimes when you call it the arena, sometimes when you're in the arena, you don't necessarily realize the impact that you are making, right? You, as a coach, for me, I've had young people that I've coached over the years, and I'm telling them, I'm giving them these lessons, and I swear at that moment that they're not listening. But then when they come back 10 years later and they give me the report, they show me the fruit, they show me the jobs that they attained, they show me their kids. And, you know, there's some guys, I'm saying, you what? You have a son, right? And so to you, you may not realize it as much as you should, but you have had tremendous impact on a lot of young coaches and a lot of student athletes. I've talked to many who have worked with you, who have been in programs where you've been in charge, and I know my experience with you. So we have a long way to go, but guys like you, over the course of your career, 35 plus years, have definitely been leading us in the right direction. So speaking of leading, you know, you've had an opportunity to form staffs, and you've been in charge, you've been in the seat in many places. How would you say your leadership style has changed over the years, or has it?
I guess it has, but I want to go back and address something that you said, because you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. My measurement on my success is not the 4 years, the 5 years that I have these young people. It's after that, when you're in the grocery store, you're at the airport, and as you say, they come up to you and say, Mr. Anderson, this is what I'm doing now. This is my significant other. These are my kids and everything else. Thank you for what you did. I mean, that's my gift. Yes. You know, when they give, you know, that's what makes me smile and get up and want to go to work every day. You know, Van, that's a great question. So one of the things that I had to learn is patience. And over the years, I guess some people don't think, some people do, that I've matured where patience has become better for me. But just like you and whatever I shared with you, I had the opportunity one day to sit down with Frank Robinson, and Frank, he told me, and I said, so your first job as a manager, you weren't successful. In all of your life, you had been successful. I said, so what happened and what did you have to do? And he said, Kevin, I expected everybody to have the same work ethic as I did. I expected everybody to have the same demeanor and thought and the drive to be a competitor that I did. And soon I realized that the 25 people I had on my roster, they all didn't have that. And so I had to look at myself differently. And I had a hard time adjusting because I didn't get that at first. I got fired. I went and did some other things. I came back and I was able to see, and Herman Edwards shared this with me. You must be fair with everybody, but you can't treat them the same because everybody's not the same. Everybody's not motivated the same way. Everybody doesn't do things the same way, but it's when you're able to reach into their heart and they believe in you as a leader and they trust you, most people will do anything that you want. And then if not, and if you're managing and leading them correctly, they'll see that, they'll make the decision saying, this probably is not the right place for me, and they'll move on so you don't have to have that conversation. But that's only if you're leading right. If you're not leading and managing people and letting them know, my philosophy is, just in our competitions, there's a time and score. And as long as you have everybody know what the time and score is, there's no surprises and that you can move on. But if someone comes in, you have to have a difficult conversation with them, then you fail to let them know what the time and score is and share what they need to know and how to be successful.
Exactly. And you spoke earlier about adversity, challenges, and definitely in the last 2 years, our society, our country, our world has faced challenges. So when you look back at the last 2 years, what has that taught you, that adversity, and what is going to come of that now in your seat? What has that taught you about leadership, the adversity that you've seen in the last couple of years?
So I believe with adversity comes opportunity. And, there's always something that's going to be productive and constructive, and that you could take from a bad situation and make it into a positive situation. So what we're facing now, and particularly in intercollegiate athletics, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of possibilities. However, it's going to take leadership. And, the one thing that I've learned and everything else, that a great leader can be vulnerable. Now, most people look at it when you talk about vulnerability and they think of it automatically as being weak.
Right.
But it takes a strong leader to be vulnerable. And you have to know that in your vulnerability, there could be negative circumstances that you're going to have to face. But if you have courage and you have the soul in your heart to bring people forward together and work on a common goal, there's no way that you won't find success. And you always have to be flexible and have a plan. And if that plan fails, you just have to have what's next. And if it does, what are we going to do to follow it? The thing I always tell people when they work for me, if you come into my office and you put something on my table and you leave it for me, then I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do what I need to do. But if you come in my office and if something failed or you have something and you bring the plan to me, then I'm going to let you do your job. But if you give me the opportunity to do your job and I see fit in doing so, I'm going to do it. And most people don't want you to get involved, but I want people that have solutions. I want people that want to be better than they are. I want people that, they can deal with crisis and circumstances that might be out of their control and bring it back in their control so they could do things and move a team forward. Because, Van, you probably know better than I. you could game plan and do all you want, but you know, there's going to be circumstances in that game where things are going to change and you didn't really say, damn, I didn't plan for that.
Right.
But it's being able to adjust, having those people that have the same will that you have, that you overcome the adversity and you make it positive and you become successful in doing that.
Which I think is huge, you know, when it comes to the leader. I tell our players this all the time, is that if being the leader was easy, everyone would be the leader, right?
Yes.
As the leader, you have to understand how to, okay, the problem came, right? There's difficulty. Most people don't want anything to do with that. The leader has to stand up front. He has to take it all. He has to, while taking it all, he has to have a plan for the next step, right? And that's the thing that's so fascinating. As I sit and I listen to you, we've heard that before on these podcasts. We've heard it in a different way from different people in different worlds, but they're all saying the same thing. And my mom always told me, when you hear the same thing from different people, it must be right. It must be right. So we're talking about leadership, you more than anyone knows, having an opportunity to work in 2 different academies. This is what I would say is the mecca of leadership. My dad was a military man. So I grew up with leadership in my household. And so I know what I don't know firsthand, but I know what goes on at the academies. What is that experience like for you? I know you're just starting in Air Force, but you were at Army, you know, you were at West Point. So what is that experience like that's different than being at another university?
Well, your daddy must know my daddy, because when they interviewed me at West Point and they asked me, did I have military service? I said, no, but if you grew up in my house, it was just like coming to the military, because my father was a former sergeant and that's how he ran our house. So, you know, I wasn't totally not prepared to go into this role. One of the first things I'll share with you is that I worked for a superintendent. It was General Buster Hagenbeck. And so you know, he would sit down and we would talk, and he would talk to me about leadership. And so I said, well, what's one of the things that I should take away from this conversation? And he said, he looked at me, he said, Kevin, my success has been, I walk amongst the troops. And he said, here's what happens. He said, I have colonels that want to be generals that work for me. And so if something's happening, they're not necessarily going to share with me because they don't want me to think that they failed or whatever is happening, and they want to be generals. But he said, if I go down and walk amongst the troops, they're going to share with me and tell me what's happening, how it's happening, and then they'll sometimes give me their opinion as well. So then I could come back with my colonels and I could sit down with them and I could start asking them probing questions. And first of all, they said, well, how did he know that? But second of all, I wanted them to know, but I wanted them to be able to come and share with me so we can work on this together, so we could have the best possible situation that we can come up with. You know, the other thing is, when I was with the Xerox Corporation, and this has been one of my mantras that has helped me with whatever success I've had. But a gentleman told me that you have to inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to ask those probing questions, but, you know, you have to go now, you know, you don't have to get down in the weeds, but if you ask enough questions, then you know what your goals and objectives are and what your vision is, and are you moving towards them? So those are some of the things that I've learned. You know, the other thing is that at one point in time, I thought that I wanted people that were the best and brightest. And I still do, but the thing that I thought that I didn't know was as valuable as it was trust and loyalty. And, you know, over these last couple of years, I've been able to see and experience how valuable that is for any leader and for any organization. So, you know, going back now, I would take somebody who probably was less talented, but I know that I could trust and be a loyal person, than just coming with somebody who's ambitious and is going to do anything to get to where they want to go. So, I mean, those are some of the lessons that I've learned, and quite, quite recently. So those are the things I like to share with you.
Great. I have the opportunity to work every day with Coach Kleiman, our head coach, in my role as assistant head coach. And, I know you've been in the seat, as it's called, and he always talks about the fact that, when you're in that position of leadership, when you're in that place, it can be very lonely, because you spoke on it earlier. Everyone will bring you the problems, but not many people are courageous enough to bring you the solutions. So here you are sitting in that seat. Everybody's clamoring about the bad choice you made. Nobody's giving solutions. And you are continually expected to make those decisions. And so we always have discussions, good discussions about that, about how important it is as a leader to be strong, to continually get information like you talked about, getting information from the colonels, get information from the troops. I'm a big leadership reader, and I always read, I've read a book called 360-Degree Leader. And that book talks about the fact that leadership comes from anywhere, right? I also read the U.S. Army. It's a book that kind of refers quite a bit to the U.S. Army leadership manual. It's a book called Be No Do. And it talks about the fact that when you're in battle, right, there's the captain who is designated as the leader. Well, if the captain goes down and the sergeant goes down, now there might be a private who have to take charge, right? But if he hasn't been trained in the fundamentals of leadership, then you got something going on that you don't want, right? But if you understand, we all understand leadership and how it works, we all are willing to, if called upon to do it, then you have a better organization. Everybody's not going to be in charge, but everybody has to be prepared to have their certain level of leadership. So I want to rewind just a little bit. You talked about, what gives you pleasure. For me as a coach, I talk to player A, and on game, I talk to him in practice. I talk to him in meetings. And then on game day, I get a chance to watch it all come together. There's a lot of excitement for me in that way to see that all come together, all that planning. But for an athletic director, for a guy who is in your seat with different sports as well, what is your game day? What is the thing that makes you day after day? What is that thing for you? What gets you hyped?
Just seeing the excitement with the young people that we coach and we work with, the competition. One of the reasons why I decided to get back in is because I miss the competition. Some of my friends that aren't familiar with what we do, they just take it as the winning, and then
Yeah.
But it's much more than that. It's the preparation and everything else, and then when you have that success. So one of my things when I was the athletic director at both schools I was at, it was more important for me to go into the locker room after we lost than when we won, because it's easy to go in that locker room when you win.
Yes.
But it's not that easy to be in there and to have that conversation. First of all, I wanted everybody to see that, we're all part of this together. And we win together, we lose together, but I'm there for support. But I want to go back to something you said that's really important. Where I see most programs and coaches fail is that they don't have leadership in the locker room. Because most of the time, if you don't have leadership in the locker room and you have to go in and you have to be that leader, you're not going to be successful. So again, Van, I've seen you do it. The development of these players, and that you have those leaders in the locker room, because they're going to police themselves. I mean, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds. And so if you don't have somebody in there, and when they see somebody not doing the right thing or somebody struggling or whatever, and you don't have anybody to pull them up and say, we're here for you, you're not gonna be successful.
Right. Right.
And so, that's what I've been able to see. And that's what I believe I've been able to bring, because now you said I managed many sports and everything else. So that was my locker room. And the coaches and the staff and everything else were my players. And I needed them to have, and I needed leadership. So, I mean, if something was going on, I'd have certain people that I knew were my leaders that I didn't have to have that conversation with any. They were going to go back and they were going to pull things together. And to be quite frank, I've been blessed and so lucky, because I've worked with so many great people and they've worked with me. And, I'm going back to Air Force to work with one of my pups, because he started with me at Oregon State and has been with me every place I've gone, and he's been very successful. And, I know how he works, he knows how I work, but the common goal is that we want to develop people. We want to develop people and give them character. We want them to be great citizens. And then, the byproduct of, we get to play the games and be part of the competition.
Yes. You talked about that locker room, right? And being a former player, and actually when you're in that locker room, when you're the player, you don't understand how important it is that you understand and that your coaches give you the team, right? Because if you have a coach-led team, you're not going to be as successful. There are some great coach-led teams, right? But it's very difficult, because the coach has to drive the bus. The coach has to have a mechanism to repair everything. He has to have a mechanism to lift people's spirits. He has very difficult, a coach-led organization. But when you have a player-led organization, when you have an organization where the players are speaking the same language, because it's tough, right? We're a little bit older than the players we coach. And so I always say there's like two radios going, right? There's that line of communication that's happening above the board when the coaches are in the meeting rooms talking. And then there's another level of communication. It's when the players make eye contact. It's when they smile at each other. It's when they wink. There's another level of communication that is going on. Well, if the same messages are not being delivered on both of those radios, you got problems, And unfortunately, I've seen those programs where there's two distinctly different things happening on the airwaves, right? The successful programs, the truly winning programs are the ones where those messages are the same on both radios. So I know you've had an opportunity to put together staffs. You've had an opportunity to hire people. What are some things that as you, especially now that you're back in the arena, but as you decide on people, on coaches, on staff members for your programs, what are the characteristics that you're looking for as you choose those people?
So Van, hold that thought, because, I've gotten older and sometimes I forget, but I want to go back to something you said. So our game of football, it's most important. Well, when I played and there was maybe 110 people on the team and you were limited with coaches, you had to have that kind of leadership in the locker room. Yes. Nowadays, y'all have 20, 30, 40 people on the staff. So,
yeah, right.
But
right.
I mean, very difficult, even with the limitations of numbers, to be able to, manage and lead all those folks. So you do need that, particularly in our game of football. But, one of the things I always wanted people on my staff, I wanted them to be better than me. And how I explain it, it's just like the orchestra conductor might not be the best musician, but he hears the music. And he knows when to bring in the strings. He knows when to bring in the brass. He knows when to bring them all in together. And those better conductors have that ear for the music, and they know how to bring it all together so you have that harmonization and that wonderful tune that you're looking for. So, you know, that's been my approach, and that's what my philosophy is in doing that. Now, the one thing I'll go back to again is I've been very fortunate, and I've worked with a lot of great people, and a lot of the people have worked with me have now gone on and they're leaders in our industry. And the ones who have been successful and moved on, again, but was able to trust them, and they were loyal, and that we shared the big picture together, and that we're all going to move forward. And we won together, we lost together, we cried together, we laughed together. And again, I mean, Dan, this whole thing is you spend more time with your coaching staff and coaches than you do your family.
Yes.
So the other part of this, and I've been able to see this, is I've been able to see and talk to people about how they are fathers, how they are husbands, and seeing that. Because if they're not good at that, then they're not going to be good at the other things. And the other thing is that you have to have a partner that understands our business and that wants to be part of it. Because I've seen people who've had great support systems at home, and then I've seen people, and they've had significant others that didn't like what they were doing. It took away from them. And so now the pressure is so great because the pressure at the job to be successful and then trying to be good at home. And if you don't have somebody who's going to champion you at home, it's hard to be successful on the field and in the locker room.
Yeah, and this is kind of almost a funny aside to that, but I totally agree that having the support of your partner goes a long way. Having the support of your family, because you know I'm fortunate at Kansas State. One of my sons is on the team, and he's also a cornerback, so I get an opportunity to coach him, and I think that's a great blessing that I've been that's been bestowed upon me, because I've missed a whole lot of basketball games, and I've missed a whole lot of soccer games, and I've missed a whole lot of things that have happened at school. And so that's like a way I believe God has given me an opportunity to be a part of my son's life, because I've raised a lot of other people's kids on the way. But like I said, a funny aside, I was coaching at Texas A&M, and of course I played at Texas. And so one of my sons, you know, the time we were at Texas A&M, they were really young. So they had no clue really about, you know, dad's history as a player. It wasn't a part of their world. So we are getting ready to play Texas on Saturday, and I was at home, and I was in the bathroom, and my son knocked on the bathroom door. I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" He said, "I need to talk to you real quick." I said, "All right." So he comes into the restroom. He said, "Hey, Dad, I just wanted to let you know it's going to be really important that you beat the Longhorns. You know that, right?" And I said, "Okay." He said, I'm serious about this." He said, "Because a couple of my friends have said that we're not going to win this game. So you really, you know, you're going to have to go out and smash them, right?" Yeah, I understand. So there's pressure. There's pressure outside and in, and it's important. You know, seriously, it's important that you know that your family is behind, you know, all that you do, because, like you said earlier, in this world that we live in, you're away from home quite a bit of time, which leads into the fact that you know, it's so important. I always say that I do what I do. I know my purpose. My purpose is to change the world through sports. That's my purpose. And I don't have to be earth shattering, but when I die, some people are going to come to my funeral and they're going to say he did it. They're going to say he did it. He changed the world, because he changed me. He changed the world because he changed that guy. He changed the world because he helped this person. He changed the world because of my experience, my interaction with him. And I believe that this world that you and I live in is the greatest place to be able to do that, because we can reach, we can touch so many sectors of our society while we play this great game. You know, we're playing the game, but we're changing the world behind the scenes. Got one final question, and this question causes you to reflect, right? You talk to, as you reflect, you need to talk to the young Kevin Anderson. What would you tell that bright young man if you could talk to him today? What would you tell him?
Well, if I may take the opportunity to go back to what you were talking about, because I'm with you. So my daughters and my son had 583 other brothers and sisters when we worked in the athletic department. And I share this with a lot of up and coming people and having them think about this. So I've had a couple negative experiences, and one was at the University of Maryland. And so I learned, in my son, my 13-year-old son, who's sitting on the couch with me, we're watching a football game, and on the bottom of the scroll says, Kevin Anderson has been removed from the athletic director at the University of Maryland. And he looked at me, he was very upset. And that, you know, why didn't you share this with me, and this, that, and other. See, and it was all right for them to come at me, but it wasn't okay for them to come at my child. And at that time, I realized, you know, how it impacted my family even more so than me and my young 13-year-old who, you know, didn't understand any of this, but now he's losing all those brothers and sisters.
Yes.
So, you know, if anybody's listening to this tonight, you know, there's much more to think about than just yourself. Then, you know, this has never been a job for me. It's like I said, it's been a ministry, but, you know, to be honest with you, and don't tell my wife I said this, I would do this and you didn't have to pay me.
That's right. Yeah, I say the same thing, and you better not tell my wife. You know,
I mean, and I tell folks that, you know, if you think this is 9 to 5 and whatever, then you need to go to the bank and get a job so you could go there at 9 and leave at 5.
Yes.
But there's much more to this than this. You know, here's what I see now that really concerns me. And if I look back at this, I really got into this because so many people impacted my life. And, you know, I could have gone in many different directions, but by the grace of God, he put people in my life who set me on that path where I've been able to experience all this, and that they've touched my life, and hopefully I've been able to touch other people's lives. But if you're getting into this for position, power, or money, you're in the wrong job. And there's many people out there now that are in our business for the wrong reasons. And, you know, some of what I look at is there's some people out there that have never been in the locker room. They don't know what it is to be in the arena and go through the battle. There's many people in our industry that don't understand or take the time to understand the different young people that we bring to campus, and that many of them's experience is different than their teammates. And if you don't understand that and you bring them to your campus and you don't provide them the tools to adjust and to be productive young people, then you're failing them. And again, you don't belong in this business, because the best, and we're going to go back and talk about the best leaders, the best coaches are able to take people from diverse communities and bring them together and have one common goal. And to have them understand that, and to understand that differences are great if you put them in the right perspective and you use that energy in a positive direction, no telling what could be done. You know, and the thing that I'm looking at in our society now, that if you took what we do in sport, I mean, we do a better job than anybody else of bringing people together that are different and look different than us. And we still have a long way to go. But, you know, I mean, what I found, and I'll leave you with this, and, you know, this is somewhat of a sad commentary too. I walk into events, I walk into parties and everything else, and if people know me or they don't know me, but somebody introduces them to me, they all want to talk about what I do, the sport and everything else. But, you know, unless a friend is talking with a friend and they're in different industries, there's no other place that you could go that people just want to gravitate and talk to you about what we do. That's the great thing, but it's also the curse. So, you know, I'll just say one word to answer your question, because I was all around it. Be authentic. And when I interview folk and I tell them that, you know, well, whatever they say in that interview and they get the job, and if they're not that person, somewhere down the line, someone said, well, you know, when we first talked, you didn't say that, or you weren't that person. And that's how many of us find ourselves getting into some difficulty, because we weren't authentic and we weren't the person that we initially were sitting down and communicating and talking to the people.
Wow, man, listen, as I go back through all the things that we've talked about, amazing. And I feel like we've been so blessed to have the opportunity to be with you. I feel like, of course, the players and coaches, the student athletes and coaches at Air Force will be continually blessed as they have the opportunity to be around you. Kevin, again, thank you for your time. I'm so excited for you to get back into the arena, especially at this time when we need leaders like you. Definitely want to look at getting you back on. We'll talk about some name, image, likeness. We'll talk about how many millions of dollars these student athletes have grabbed up with this. But again, thank you. And man, anything I can ever do to help you, you know I'm right there.
Hey, Van, thank you. I love you, brother. You know, and you know, you're my brother in Christ, and we share something each and every day, and you know that means a lot to me. So, you know, I'm going to watch you continue to be successful, because God is certainly going to bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.